How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of your favorite fishing podcast, Scales and Tails, favorite swim bait podcast, episode 182 today. We're joined by a guy who is a tournament angler. I feel like you may be the first. Oh, no, we had Matty Wong on, so that was a long time ago. So we had Matty Wong on, so we have talked to tournament anglers, but we're talking to a guy who, if you guys are not watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify or elsewhere, if you guys can see behind his shoulder right there, this guy's got an absolute wall of swim baits over there. So to use the general claim tournament angler, that's his title, but we can all probably agree that he might be a swim bait nut like the rest of us. And we're gonna dive into his story and kind of how he got into the passion and everything. We're joined by Mr. Kevin Rogers. If you guys are unfamiliar, Kevin, is it Kevin Rogers Fishing on Instagram?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what
Perfect.
it is.
I'm
Yep.
sure you guys have
Yep.
seen his reels, or if you guys are on TikTok, may have seen his TikToks and all that good stuff. But we'll let Kevin introduce himself, and then as always, we've got two little icebreaker questions for him. One is a little more tuned into the tournament side of things, and then the other one is obviously the more personalized question. But Kevin, introduce yourself, man, and we'll get the conversation going with some good old icebreakers after.
Yeah, I've had a crazy fishing career. I've it's been interesting. I have all these plaques up here,
Yeah,
and believe it or not, all these plaques are from crappie fishing
yeah, I remember hearing you
of
talk
all
about
things.
that.
Yes. So I was a professional crappie fisherman. I've won 34 crappie tournaments in five different states with my father
Yeah,
over the years. I started in, gosh, like 94, and we did it for 30 some years. And shame on him, he retired tournament fishing at the ripe age of 78, right? So, and when he did that, this whole time I was crappie fishing, always. I was crappie fishing for him,
yep.
always had bass fever, always like in my blood, never stopped bass fishing. And as soon as he retired, I'm like, ooh, it's my chance. I'm going to go
This
all
is my
in.
get out of jail free
Um,
card.
I can finally go bass fishing, and being an older gentleman, I'm 52, so I have the means to do it now. As a young man, I don't know
Mhm.
how these young kids actually tournament bass fish. I have no
Yeah.
clue. So that's beyond me. Rich parents, I don't know what it is. But now I'm 52. I have the time. I own my own construction company, so I'm my
Mhm.
own boss. I can come and go as I please, and I am completely uh, embraced in fishing. My whole life revolves around fishing. And I'm all in the tournament scene. I fished the NPFL. I've fished it for 5 years now. I love it. It's a cool organization. And what's even cooler this year is that they banned forward facing
Yeah.
sonar, which I'm not a forward facing sonar hater by no
Mhm.
means. But it's kind of refreshing to go out and fish without it. So I went all in 5, 6 years ago on the bass. And when I got back into the bass fishing hot and heavy, the glide bait scene was there, and I'm like, "What in the hell is a glide bait?" This is the coolest thing I've ever
Yeah.
seen in my life, and my addictive personality. I went all in. I
Yeah.
started diving in. I tried on our research, and I found all this cool stuff. And I'm like, what, hinkle shad? What's a hinkle shad? Oh, you can't get them. Oh no, I really want one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just exploded, and here I am, and I went to the mailbox today, and I got six brand new glide baits in the mailbox today, and I'm completely ate up with it. And man, if I'm glad you just had me on. I'm not your typical swim bait guy, or I'm not
Right. Yeah.
cool enough to be a swim bait guy like swim bait guys are, but I absolutely love it. Um, I throw a swim bait every time I go bass fishing.
Heck yeah,
Every
man.
single time.
Yeah.
Whether they bite it or not, that's beyond me. But I,
Right.
I
Right.
have it on the deck every single time I go. But that's who I am, man. I just love fishing. I love every single thing about it.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Before I ask the icebreaker question, you touched on something. I just wanna know the answer. When your dad retired out of the crappie fishing tournament scene, did he end on a win? Did he end in a first place finish?
Oh, wow, I don't. That's funny you should say that. No, I think it was a fourth
Oh,
place.
well, that's pretty good.
But my last crappie tournament I ever fished was with my wife in a husband-wife tournament down at Lake of the Pines, Texas, and we won that one. So
Oh,
I
there you
ended
go.
my
There you go.
fishing career on a win. Yeah,
Heck,
yeah,
oh, that's
yep.
that's so crazy. It's interesting. Well, we'll talk about it, but the crappie scene is very interesting. It's something that I've kind of poked around into and have kind of messed with on a smaller scale than what you have done, but we'll talk about that later. The icebreaker questions. So the first question, the old classic that we've been asking for probably the last like 4 or 5 episodes, and this kind of is a different take because the normal question is you and I are going to go fish tomorrow morning, getting up early, meeting at the lake, before sunrise. What are the go-tos when we stop at the gas station? What are your snacks and stuff? But to kind of branch off of that a little bit more, we'll up the equation. It's tournament morning for you. You're at the house or you're at the Airbnb, hotel, wherever it may be. What's kind of your I guess walkthrough before you launch the boat? You stopping at the gas station, filling the boat up the morning of, kind of what's your tournament morning ritual, I guess?
Yeah, and this sounds crazy, and this is something I do, and if you've ever done this, you'll know why I do it. I always get gas the night before,
Hmm.
always,
Hmm.
because I had a morning of a tournament where that gas pump came out and got all over me, and then I fished for 8 hours with that gasoline-soaked
Yeah,
hoodie on,
yeah.
and I've never done it since. So I'm always getting gas for the boat. I top it off every single night
Mm,
before the tournament. That way, I'm
yeah.
not touching gasoline
That's
the
a good
morning of the
idea,
tournament.
yeah.
So, but I am I'm I'm 52, so I'm an old man. I'm a black coffee
Yep.
junkie,
Yeah.
like all day long, drinking black coffee. So it's black coffee for me from start to finish. I'm drinking black coffee right now. I'll drink it before I go to bed. So that's my vice.
Yeah.
I'm too old to be the energy drink kid, so I'm a
Yep.
black coffee guy for sure.
Yeah. Question
Yep.
for you on the black coffee. If you're making it at home, what's like the ground or K cup you're going with for your black coffee?
Man, anything. I don't do sugar and I don't do
Mm-hmm.
cream, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
black coffee.
Yeah.
So any of them really, like a Folgers black silk,
A
something really
black silk.
basic,
Yep.
something
Yep. That's what my dad
like
and
your
I drink
grandpa would
every
drink.
morning.
That's
14
black
cups of it
silk.
every morning. He drinks some before, or we
Yeah,
both drink
black
some before we
silk
leave and
Folgers.
fill up our Yetis for the
Yeah,
morning shift at work and gets us
that's
through
it.
half the day.
Yep. Yep, I take two Yeti tumblers each
Yeah. Yeah.
morning. I fill them up, and it depends if the fish will bite or not, how fast those cups go throughout the tournament.
A fellow black silk
So,
drinker. I appreciate that. There's not a
yes,
lot of guys,
it's simple
yeah,
and it's
it's
good.
the older
Yeah.
guys like black coffee, but I'm 23 years old and I'll drink black coffee. That's all I
I
drink.
love it.
I drink it on the weekends. My girlfriend's always like, "Oh, I have some creamer if you want some." Oh, no, no, it's okay. I'll just drink it right out of the machine. I don't care.
And I will say this with respect. I've never been in a Starbucks.
Yeah. Ah.
I never have. That's not my jam. A
Yeah.
lot of people love it and they're ate up with it and they go to the coffee shop. I'm just a Keurig guy, and
Yep.
yeah, I just right out of Keurig right in my Yeti and I go.
Yeah.
So yep.
What do you eat before your tournament? Like, do you make a breakfast or do you stop at the gas station or kind of
No,
what's the
no,
meal plan like
it's
before the launch?
it is black coffee.
Okay, okay.
I don't eat. And
Dang,
I'm
okay.
52, so I used to be real bad, and I used to have like a cosmic brownie, little Debbie
Yeah.
cosmic brownie in the boat, and I do. Sometimes around Easter, like right now, they got those Reese's peanut butter
Yeah.
eggs, and man, I'm
Eggs.
addicted to the thing. I try. I'm 52, and I'm trying to stay away from that sugar. But yeah, it would be any kind of Reese's peanut butter cup or Little Debbie's hard to
No.
beat. But I do like long, like in the summertime, you can fish 11 and a half, 12 hours a
Mhm.
day. So I will in practice, never on a tournament day. Practice days can get real long in the summer, and I will make ham sandwich or
Yeah.
turkey sandwich, two of them, throw them in there and have them throughout the day. But in the tournament, I'm never eating. It's constant casting, and it's all about catching the next fish.
Right. What about in the crappie scene? It's the way I envision crappie fishing isn't necessarily on the tournament level. Is it a little bit more laid back? You got a cooler with maybe a couple cosmic brownies, a couple PB&Js or what else it may be, or is it still cast, cast, cast?
It is. It can be whatever you want it to be, right?
Right.
But to be successful, it was the nonstop. We took when we were doing it, we took the KVD approach, and we were fast. We were
Hmm.
fishing faster than everybody else. We
Yeah.
were power fishing for crappie, which sounds ridiculous, and that's what we were doing. That's how we were successful. We were taking 10, 11 foot long poles with quarter-ounce jigs on them and 3 inch
Hmm.
baits and dropping them on cover and
Yeah.
going as fast as we could all day long, nonstop, standing up in the front of the boat,
Hmm.
crappie fishing. And we were just hitting more targets than everybody else. And that's how we were successful. So yeah, it was definitely more of a power fishing
Yeah.
crappie tournament been laid back. People think, oh, crappie fishing, you tied to a tree, threw your
Yep.
bobbers out, drank some beers. Like, you can. That's
Yep.
not what we did.
Right.
It was full blow. I mean, I know we made over $250,000 crappie fishing in our lives
Wow.
over those years, right? Oh yeah,
That's
we had,
crazy.
all the sponsors we've had. We had Bass Cat boats for, oh gosh, 25 years now, and it was because of our crappie fishing. I had my
Wow.
own line of rods, reels, baits, everything. I would used to be booked out 3 years in advance for seminars. It was a big deal, and I just
Wow.
walked away from it one day. I kind of made the crappie community a little mad that
Yeah.
I like I did. I just walked out and I'm like, I'm done, and I'm going all in with the bass, just like switched.
Yeah.
And I still crappie fish with my dad's side. He's 82 now and still
Mhm.
fishes every single day. So I'll just jump in the boat with him and go just for fun now. So
That's 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 so crazy to hear, and we'll get into that a little bit more here in a second. But last question for you, the last icebreaker question: do you get weird looks? Like, I assume you have like one or two like big bait, swim baits on the deck during your tournaments, like before you take off. Does that like catch people off guard? Are they like, Kevin, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like you only got to catch five. Like, is that something that is for us, it's not uncommon for if I was to walk past your boat, oh, Kevin's got on a mother and a crank down or whatever it may be. Is it less common and kind of are you like the black sheep of the tournament scene because of what you have tied on?
I'm telling you, they all have them tight on now.
Okay. Yeah.
Something has shifted. Something has shifted in the, well, forward facing sonar really turned these guys on to these. I mean, a glide bait. A glide
Yep.
bait can be a jerk bait.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? It can suspend just like a jerk bait. It is more common than you think now,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
But there's still guys that I heard Greg Hackney, which is one of the greatest tournament bass fishermen ever, say last month he's never caught a fish on a glide bait, and that shocked me,
Wow.
to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because he's such a shallow
Shallow guy.
water
Yeah.
fisherman. He'd probably be deadly with the thing if he
Yeah.
ever had success with it. So it's not, we have 118 boats in our tournament trail, and there's some big names fishing the NPFL, like Greg Hackney and
Mhm.
Jason Christie. And do those have those old school Bass Elite guys into it yet? No, but a lot of them are. Right?
Mm.
You see it a lot more than you did 5 years ago. I would say
Right.
they're starting to understand. I mean, for me, I start with it every day, and if I
Hmm.
don't buy it, then I'll go
Yeah.
to traditional tackle. Um, but it's not as uncommon as you would think,
Hmm.
right? They come by and they go, "Gosh, I wish I could do that." You
Yeah.
can, anybody
Yeah.
can, right? Just
Right.
I have confidence in it now, so that it doesn't bother me at all. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's more common than you think nowadays, believe it or not, in the tournament scene, for
Yeah.
sure.
So we're just gonna take this right into kind of the normally scheduled episode here. Know who you
You
are. You
bet.
kind of touched on that all at the beginning before the icebreaker. So I guess just getting right into the tournament swim bait talk. Yeah. Say you have a tournament this coming up weekend and it's practice. Are you are you practicing with your swim baits to like find like okay, it's gonna be kind of a longer question here. Are you using your swim baits to find fish, like find fish under docks, so you can flip a Senko to them later, or are you using them for search baits, or are you using them to like actually see if these fish will come out and eat a 10-inch gizzard shad or whatever else it may be to kind of know where those bigger fish are and know that if it eats this bait once and it doesn't, don't have any hooks or your hooks are clipped, I can come back in 3 days if I don't mess with it and I can probably catch that fish again if I need to.
Yeah, that's a great question. And here's what I've learned in my little short time of just swim bait fishing. There are some lakes, they're not going to hit them.
Hmm.
I don't care. I mean, not every lake I'm going to has trout eaters.
Right.
Right? I'm not. So, but I use them every single time to see if I can catch them on that glide bait,
Hmm.
to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I am I'm tournament fishing this weekend at Table Rock Lake. It's 2.5 hours from my house. Crystal clear, beautiful lake, rocky, perfect for glide baits. I mean, perfect, especially this time of year. The trees down here are all budding, the red
Yeah.
buds are blooming. It is time, and I am going to. There's only I don't force it. Usually I'm going to force the
Hmm.
swim bait bite. That's
Yeah.
all I'm going to throw. I'm
Yeah.
not going to throw Cinco. I'm not going to throw a jig. I'm not going to throw any a chatterbait. I'm going to throw mag drafts, burritos,
Yeah.
and hard swim. I'm going to throw glide baits. That's what I'm going to do. And if they don't bite it, they don't. It's just it's just a jackpot term. It's not for
Hmm.
points thing. But I'm going to force it because to me, I'd rather catch them on a swim bait than any other bait there
Yeah.
is. So if they're gonna, and that lake, I know they will hit a glide bait. It's a really good glide bait. Now there's not 10 pounders in it,
Yeah.
right? But it doesn't matter. You can still catch 4 and 5s just as
Hmm.
well. So I use it to actually see if they'll hit the glide bait.
Right.
That's what I do. Now it is a good bait to show you fish as well, where you can come back and do that different technique on docks and all that stuff, where you can throw your wacky rig and all
Hmm.
that. But in tournament, if I have caught him in practice and I'm throwing it, I will not die by it.
Mm.
Right? That's some guys do. You see Carl Johnson sometimes he
Yeah.
dies with the glide bait.
Yeah.
I won't die with it. I'll put it away quick and go get 5 and then pull it back out. My favorite is catch 5 keeper bass and then just go with it the rest of the day and try to get that
Yeah.
big fish, which
Right.
it does. I mean, it will catch a big fish.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
You're going to the Big Bass Bash this weekend. I'm
No,
assuming that's what you were talking
no,
about.
no, it's there. I'm fishing another one on, so I didn't even know
Oh.
it was there till today. No, because I can't fish it because I pay $5,000 entry fee, so it makes me a pro.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I can't even get in the Bass Bash. But
Oh.
yeah, it's gonna get hammered this week. There's another solo series at Table Rock where you fish by yourself
Mhm.
that I'm gonna fish.
I've
So
got a I've
yeah,
got
but
a
it'll
couple
be
buddies going down there for that Big Bass Bash, and they've been asking me
they will
about glide bait. I gave them a couple
they
glide
will eat
baits
them.
and gave them some mag, or
Yes.
they bought some mag drafts, and they're like, "Holy crap, this 8-inch mag draft is
Yeah.
huge!" I said, "They're gonna eat it. Trust me, they'll eat it."
They're gonna eat for sure.
So
That mag draft's a good bait.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
real good bait.
They're going down there. Well, if they decide to with the weather, they're not too sure if they're making that drive. But they've got a couple glide baits in their tackle boxes that I've gifted them, and I said, okay, this is how you guys are gonna fish them. If you see floating docks, I
Yep.
would make parallel casts and I'd try to glide that thing under there. And they're asking me a bunch of questions. So
Absolutely.
with a hope and a prayer, hopefully those boys will catch a decent one on a glide bait and become believers. But it's on Table Rock, so I was thinking that's what you were talking about. But it's funny that there's two
Yeah.
big tournaments there the
There's
same weekend.
oh yeah, I mean you get in April down here, Lake of the Ozarks. We have Lake of the Ozarks, we have Truman Lake, and we have Table Rock Close. And there'll be 3 or 4
Mm,
all weekend now till the end of the summer.
yeah.
So yeah, they double up a lot.
It's funny.
Yep.
One of the guys who's going on that trip, he texted me a couple months ago and said, "Dude, you need to have Kevin on. Kevin, you need to have Kevin Rogers on. Have you ever seen this guy?" And I looked at your page. And I'm like,
Oh, that's awesome.
I know who this guy is. And I was sitting there for a second, and I pressed the messages. I'm like, oh, I follow him. Like, I must know who he is. I looked through the message. I'm like, oh, I sold this guy a mother last year. I know who he is.
I'll buy I'll buy anybody's swim base.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's
Shout out
awesome.
shout out TK if you're listening, man. I had Kevin on for you, dude. I hope you enjoy the episode, man. But
TK who?
just
What what's his last name?
well, it's uh
The bait painter?
no. This is
Not
my
TK Stanley.
no.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. All right.
No, just one of my
Yeah,
local
yeah.
buddies here who's not into swim bait fishing yet, but after he catches a seven
Oh, he
pounder
will be.
on Lake of the or out there, maybe they'll become believers. But
Well,
outside of
what I
that, what were
what
you saying?
I found about these glide baits, what I found out, like a table rock, where it doesn't have just tons of 7 pounders, right?
Mhm.
These glide baits will catch 3 and 4 pounders just
Yeah.
as well as a chatterbait or a spinnerbait
Mhm.
or anything else. It will on that lake. They do. I took the same term I'm fishing this Saturday. I fished last year, and I just paralleled banks all day long. Like I was 3 feet off the me, just paralleling because I'm fishing by myself,
Yep.
and I threw a mag draft and a bull shad all day long.
Mhm.
And I took 5th place, and I just no live scope, no just
Yeah.
fishing. Just because they just move up there in that
Mhm.
clear water, they can't. Those things it's a really good place to swim bait fish for
Yeah,
sure.
we were all on a group call the other night, and they were like, "Should we get the 6-inch mag draft or maybe the 5-inch?" I'm like, "Nope, get the 8-inch." And they're like, "No, the 8-inch is massive. It weighs 2 ounces." And I said, "Trust me, get
Yep.
the Get the
Yep.
8 inch, and I'll give you guys a pack of glue because you're going to be catching twos and threes on that 8 inch. No, we're not. I'm like, yes, you guys will. I promise. And you're going to need this glue because they're going to
Absolutely.
tear that thing up. And by the time you hook a big one and lose it, you're going to want to fish this bait all day, and it's going to be so tore up. You're going to need glue to fix it. Oh, okay, okay. Maybe we'll get an 8 inch. And they got the 8 inch and sent me a picture. They're like,
Yep.
holy crap, this thing is massive. I don't know if we'll even catch a fish on this thing. And I'm like, no, you guys will. I promise.
Absolutely. Yeah. This time in Missouri where we live, it is April is mag graph
Mm,
season. I mean, Lake of the Ozarks. The thing about the mag graph is that you can skip it underneath
yeah.
those cables and get
Yep.
back behind those and those fish. They can't stand it. It is
Hmm.
such a good bait. It really is. It's an awesome bait in April.
Yeah.
In the fall, it's not very good, but April here in Missouri, mag graph's really hard to beat.
Yeah.
Really hard to beat.
Yeah, I
So,
mean it's a pretty good bait like everywhere throughout the country. I swear I mean it's a quote unquote production bait, but guys can pick it up and they'll catch fish with it in their lake. Maybe not catch fish with the 10 inch one, but the 5, 6, and 8 inch one, there's guys who are going to be catching fish all throughout the year on that thing throughout the country. Like they're just if once you figure out like the speed to swim it, and if those fish are like tuned into
yeah.
that speed, you're going to be like I said, you're going to be going through those things quick if you don't have any glue to repair them.
So so because I own my own company, I fish at least 4 days a week. My kids are all grown,
Yeah.
so I get to come and go. Saturday, I think it's Saturday. I had 5 bass that weigh just fun fishing. I still keep my five just so I
Hmm.
can tell my buddies what I
Yeah.
had. Right, it was just what you gauge it on if you're a tournament guy. I had 26 pounds. And I caught them on a bait I'd never caught a fish on before, and that was the burrito. And I've
Mhm.
never thrown the burrito before, but that the silicone, pretty cool
Yep.
bait, and
Yeah.
they wouldn't hit the mag draft because they were still just a little bit off. I still
Mhm.
paralleled the bank, but they were out in like 5 to 6. And I had that deeper burrito, and oh my gosh, they're knocking the rod out of my hand. I had 20. It was so much fun, so much fun. So I'm on a mission right now. I have I'm making my own private lakes. This sounds insanity, and people don't know what I'm talking about. I should do a whole series on this. I should have a YouTube channel. I'm building my own private lakes.
Yeah.
So I'm on a mission, and I'm catching bass all over the state, putting them on my live well, and I'm
Yeah.
transporting to my lake. So I've put 5 over 5 in it in the last 5 days. My private lake that I'm building. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
gonna
not a
be
rough life over here. It's
crazy.
pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Uh,
it's 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 crazy when those fish are eating a soft bait. Like when they're eating any bait like that, it's fun. But when they're eating a soft bait like that, like that I made a bait review or bait overview video a couple weeks
oh
ago
yeah, I
that
watched it. Yeah.
The Polaris 168 kind of looks like a mag
Mhm.
draft mixed with all those other baits.
Right.
That bait, you can sink it down with a chin weight, so you can just grind that thing on bottom like you would a Kitech and a ball head jig. They were catching them on a ball head jig this weekend, so I just fished that all day, and I finally figured out how to work it, and it wasn't. I mean, it was like every single cast. I was like, doo, doo, doo. Like they were just almost taking that bait right out of
Mm,
my hand, and it's super cool because you can make it a line through, so you can go belly hook or top hook, and so I was running belly
right.
hook, and I mean, the one fish I caught, I once I figured out the bite, I was only there for like 40 minutes before I had to leave. But the one smallmouth I caught was like maybe 2.5 pounds, and I'm like, wow, like I could have set it down and I could have picked up the spinning rod or the light casting rod, and I probably could have caught a dozen fish in that 40 minutes. But man, there's just something catching them on a swim bait. I know it's cliche, swim bait or die, whatever else it may be. But man, when they're eating the swim bait and you can catch like
Oh,
one fish compared to like a couple, maybe a dozen on conventional, for some reason it just like feels and seems like so much more significant to me, and I think like almost everybody else who's a swim bait guy for that reason, being a swim bait guy.
oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
I would. This sounds crazy because I'm a tournament fisherman. I'd rather catch a 3 pounder on a swim bait than a 6 pounder on a Cinco. I
Right.
just
Yeah.
would. It's there's something. It's just more romantic, especially a
Hmm.
glide or something up on top where you
Yeah.
get to see them hit. Like, I don't know. It's cool. I went to Mexico in February and I went to El Salto
Yep.
and I took um, I didn't. This was my first time down there, so I didn't know exactly what to take. So you have to be limited because you're on an airplane. I had a day at El Salto where I threw glide baits all day. Never threw another bait. I had 6 of them tied up, and I threw them all day long. The hinkle to all the way to a small Chad Shad. And I caught 136 bass on glide baits in one day.
Yeah.
And that just gives you confidence. And
Yeah.
oh my God. I still wake up in the middle of the night seeing those fish come up
hmm
and hit that thing. So that gives you confidence in swim baits for sure.
This is a little inside thing. I think it was a TikTok or Instagram reel that you were talking about this bait in particular and kind of how you don't have very much confidence in it. Did you take the Tiny Clash down there to mess
I
with it all, or did you leave that
did.
at home?
I did. No, I brought them and I threw them and I still haven't caught a fish on a
Nothing.
tiny clash. And that's going to piss off every guy that's listening to this because everyone loves the tiny clash. And I have not caught, I've caught over 1,000 bass on swim baits now. I've not caught a fish on a tiny clash. I don't know
Man.
what I'm doing wrong. I mean, I'm throwing it. I'll put it down. I'll pick up a freaking glide bait and catch
Yeah.
fish. I don't know. I'm not using it as a glide either. And
Right.
that may be
Yeah.
where
No.
best. I'm keeping the lip there and I'm using it like a crankbait and they're not hitting it at all.
Okay.
I'm
I'll
not having luck. Well, I'm not having luck with crank down
Yep.
swim baits in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So
not my deal. It's either soft swim bait down deeper,
Mhm.
like the burrito or something, or the working class zero. I've caught
Yeah.
them on that for sure down
Right.
deeper, but not this tiny class. Yeah, and crank downs. And I bought them all. I've got a whole box over here of crank downs. And I fished a tournament last summer at Pickwick where I was catching 20 pounds a day, pretty good bass on a crankbait right out there on
hmm
those short. I'm like,
Yeah.
why the hell would these crank downs ought to destroy? They've never wouldn't
hmm
touch it. There's just certain times with they're on
Yeah.
weird bait, and yeah, I'm not having a lot of luck with crank downs yet. So I hope I
Just
do because
w-
it's really cool.
yeah, we'll have a quick Tiny Clash crash course from S&T
I
Media,
love it.
how I fish it and how
Right.
I catch majority of my fish this way with this bait. So, the normal lip, like when you buy a new one in the box, that standard
Oh
medium
yeah.
sized lip.
hmm
So I clip that in. Are you fish? Well, if you have a low sink or a low float one, this is the
Oh
one
yeah.
that you'd want to fish. So you have the low float, you put the normal lip in it. Oh, he's going to
Yep.
grab one. We'll walk him through it here. Ooh, and it's in a sweet color too. I think that's
That
Queen.
one didn't have a lip in it.
Oh, you
Okay.
got the okay,
There you go.
perfect. So you
Yeah,
got yep. So that's the lip you need, the normal lip. And then do you have the V tail? So that's the whale tail. Do you have the V tail, the like the
I
fork looking
do.
one?
Oh, I got them all. I got all that stuff.
Perfect, perfect. He's gonna, guys, he's going over there to grab his tail, but you're gonna go. Okay, so you'll need one of those tails, whichever one you want to use,
Yep.
and you'll
So
rip out that.
you're not, are you guys not using this fork tail or this tail? Is that what it
I
is?
I don't. So the thing is I don't. You can fish the DRT stuff. You can fish a gajillion ways. You know that it's kind of the Swiss Army knife. Flip
Yeah.
it around. I do the long side up to the top. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So
So that
I don't.
tail up and down is the dive, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So they
This
all
tail
do a
here.
little bit. Yeah, so that when the
Okay.
whale tail I think is tipped up, it'll pull it down, and then when it's upside down, that's like when it glides. But the Tiny Clash is an awesome bait. Nothing against it, but I do not think it's a glide bait. Some guys will catch on it with a glide bait. This is the way you're rigging it right now is the way that I fish it.
Right.
So you got it just like
Yep.
that.
So you fish it. Yep.
Yep. And then if you have some Zappu board weights or like those
hmm
little grenade weights, or even the other day, I didn't have any weights, so I bought a pack of cheap barrel swivels and I just added two to the back treble hook hanger. And I got it
Oh,
so
you're
it's
hanging them on.
yep, I got it so
Yeah.
it's a the slowest sink. Obviously, it'll always be a little bit different with the water temps, but so what I do is I bomb the TK out there and I crank it hard, like two or three reel cranks, so it gets down to about 4 or 5 feet, and then it's always gonna have a slow
Sure.
sink to it. And then what
Hmm.
I do is I fish it like this is, I mean, it's a we talked about glide baits, fishing them as jerk baits. You're gonna fish this thing as a giant jerk bait. You're gonna crank it down, and you're gonna let it sit there for a second. And what you're going to do is you're going to reel up all the slack and you're just going to barely tap your rod. No, not even hard, like just even
Huh.
lighter than that. Just
So it
barely give it a
so it
rod
is
tip.
just
Yeah, and what this thing will
huh.
do, and what it'll do, this is a naked Tiny Clash, but it'll sit down there. It'll sit
Right.
kind of just like this, like a 110, and it just walks. So it'll be like and then you hit it
So
again.
the tail's just flopping.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it
Yep.
just kicks back and forth just barely. And so I hit it once and I go like the in the DRT book they call it the octagon. It's like the octagon retrieve, and you hit it once and you barely turn your rod handle just enough to pull that slack up, and that bait will just sit down there, and it's called the dead walk
So it's
because it just sits there and it just
so
walks in
you're
place. And
jerk baiting.
yeah,
Jerk baiting
exactly.
it on
And
the bottom then.
yep,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you let that
Yep.
thing sit out there. I mean, a cast might take you 2 minutes, but it's just sitting
Right.
down there. It's just tantalizing. I've caught my PB pike. I've caught my PB bass on that. I've caught a gajillion bass on it. Phoenix
Mm.
Pickner over there in Minnesota while he was living there in Arizona has caught a bunch of tiny
Oh
class
yeah,
fish doing it. Like
oh, I've watched all
it's
his
just a
videos. Yeah.
it's like it doesn't even count as swim bait fishing. I just count it as jerk bait fishing because that's all it's a 6 inch jerk bait that these fish just absolutely murder. And it'll be just like jerk bait fishing. Like you'll reel in the slack on one of your pops, you'll reel it up a little bit, and you'll go to pop it again, reel, and then your reel will just be gummy and you reel down and you set the hook, sweep into them. It's
That's
so much fun.
so that's my problem. I'm too hyper. That's
Yeah,
what
I think
that's
like
yeah.
guys will fish it fast and fish it as a glide bait and stuff, but that's the way I use it. I use it as a big jerk bait.
Right.
It works year round because it's just sitting down there just walking in place, and those bass will just come up, hit it and swim away with it.
Something they've
Like it's
never.
it's just like a no-brainer for them. So and
I
there's a
think I
couple
saw
other ways you can
Jeffrey.
fish it that work too.
You're putting those weights right on the split ring, then hanging it right by the hook. Yes.
Do you have the Zappu or the grenade weights?
No, but I know what you. I saw Jeffrey
Yeah.
do that. Yeah,
So if you
that's pretty
have the
cool.
grenade weights and stuff, I put them on that
Right.
front hook hanger. And then
Okay.
if you have,
Yep.
yep, and then if you have like the storm suspend trips or the Zappu,
Yep.
right where your middle finger
Right.
is, that's holding the tiny clash. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
right there between the bill and the
Yep.
front hook hanger, I've got
Right here.
two lead strips. Yep, and that's just
Yeah.
enough to kind of keep it a
Yep.
slow float. And then once I add that extra little weight on the back, that's when it's like a super slow sink, and that's for 42-degree water this weekend. So obviously, you guys might have a little bit warmer water, so you might need a little more,
Sure.
I think, to make it way down.
Yeah, because that makes sense. I mean, using it as I get using it. I mean, if you don't have all this,
Yeah,
right? I understand using it
yeah,
as a glide, but it's not. I don't need this to be a glide when I
mhm,
have all these other cool, amazing
yeah,
glide baits. So yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'll try that. I need to explore it more. I know it's a really cool bait the way it's
mhm,
engineered. It's really cool, but I just haven't had luck with it. That
yeah.
or the crank down. So
Do you
I'm going too fast.
right?
I'm
Do you
sure.
have the big crank down lip, that big like angled one?
Oh yeah. Not
So
only that, I got
another thing that you can do is take that lip.
what, this guy.
Okay, so yeah, it's that same lip pretty much for the tiny clash,
Right. On the,
and
right.
flip it around, and it becomes a wake bait then.
Okay. Yeah. 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 I took this to Mexico and I just like, are you kidding me?
Did
And
you
I'm
catch
like,
one on
I
it?
tried it. No, heck no.
No.
No, no, but I will catch it on this for sure. So,
But yeah,
yep.
there's so many ways to fish that tiny clash. It's such a versatile bait, and yeah, a
Right.
lot of guys don't like it, but there's like so many mods you can do for it. You can cut that tail out, and you can make it a big spy bait if you sink a screw lock and a prop
Mm,
tail on the back, make it a big spy bait for smallmouth. Like there's all sorts of
right.
stuff you can do for it.
So always this tail. Yeah.
That's
Cause
the
this was
tail I use.
confusing me. Right. Yeah.
Do you have that transfer tail, which is the rounded off V tail?
Man, I've got it all. Got it all. So yes.
Because
Yeah. I've got them all.
you can do that V tail as well, and that V tail kind of it'll kick back a little more sporadic than that flat tail does. But again, I mean, it's caught me fish in March up here, so the water's like 40 degrees. There was
Oh,
a couple
yeah.
years ago, it was April, like middle of April. It was in the middle of a snowstorm, and the water was 43 degrees. And they were either eating a lipless trap or they were eating the tiny clash dead walking like
Awesome.
that. I caught a 5.8 that day, a 4.7, and like 4 or 5 upper threes, and they were just smashing that bait. It was the most fun ever.
That's awesome. I love it. I
So
love it. I'll try that. Yeah,
yeah,
I need some advice on that thing because this kick. But I'm throwing out there. I'm just cranking
yeah,
it like it's a
yeah,
DT, six or
yeah.
whatever. So I need to slow down for sure.
And
Yep,
like
that
I
makes
don't know.
sense.
It's funny that the crankbaits are kind of not necessarily being an issue, but being a challenge for you because that like back when I started, so like 7, 8 years ago, crankdowns were the big thing on the market. Everybody was just starting to
Yeah.
make crankdowns, like who can make the deepest
Mhm.
crankdown. And I had this guy right here. This is one of my original swim baits, like my first ever custom production swim bait, a fish everything hater,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's a
Oh yeah. I've
crank
got them.
down. It's
I've
an
got
old
them.
crank down, and the amount of fish I caught on this thing, just bombing it out there and burning it, either burning it back or I'd do the same thing. Like a lot of the baits, like a lot of crank downs and some glide baits, you can do that same thing with the tiny clash, how it dead walks. So with this bait, I'd cast it out there and I'd just give
Right.
it slight reel taps, and it would just sit down there and it would just walk in place. And I caught so many fish doing that. Caught so many fish on the crank, like just cranking it in like that 2016 time period, everybody was making crankdowns, and that was kind of like it seemed like that was the beginner style bait for everybody. Everybody was catching fish on crankdowns, and then they'd start to learn the glide bait and stuff. Now there's
Interesting. So
so many
I
glide
did it
baits.
backwards.
Yeah, there's so many glide baits on the market now. The beginner style
Right.
bait is glide bait. And dude, when I got started, I was so scared to fish a glide bait. Like the first glide bait fish I caught was on a 10-inch glide and I crapped myself. I thought I was the luckiest person ever. And then I started to realize how to utilize and how to swim a glide bait. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this
Sure.
is like, obviously it's not as easy as just cranking a bait down, but this is like pretty easy and it's a lot more fun to watch these fish eat. It's not like fishing a
Right.
crankbait. So it's crazy. I've talked about it a little bit, but it's funny to see kind of how the beginner style lure changed over the last couple of years. It went from crank down wake baits to now it's like glide baits. Everybody, even if they've only got
Oh
two swim
yeah.
baits, they've got two glide baits in their box. It's kind of crazy to see.
Yeah. That's these bass guys, right? Even though they're not swim bait guys, they'll
Yeah.
all have a, a KGB
Yep.
Chad shad, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody want to turn one, and ever those guys will have one of those or
Mhm.
a bull shad or
Yeah.
whatever. And you're right. It has definitely changed. Yeah, I didn't even know that the crankdown came first. In 2016, I didn't
Yeah, yeah,
realize
like
that.
like
Yeah.
that was like the hot selling bait was crankdowns. Everybody was
Mm,
making crankdowns. Everybody was trying to be like there was a point in time where everybody was trying to be the first dude or be the guy who made the deepest crankdown. For whatever reason, that was you were Johnny on the spot if you made a crankdown that hit
okay.
20 feet. Like that was like oh my, I'm the best builder ever. I just made like here, like when forward facing sonar was like a new thing at the time. Look how deep this bait's getting.
Sure.
This bait's dredging down at the bottom.
Yeah.
You can see it on this graph. Like
Right.
it's hitting 18 feet
Right.
of water and 40 feet of water. You'll be able to catch those fish suspended now. And so it's talking about it, it's kind of funny because now you think about it like there's really, I mean, there's a couple guys who make crankdowns, but it's not like I can't imagine they're hot selling baits like they once used to be, or relative to what a glide bait's
Oh.
like today. The money is like in wake baits and glide baits for
Oh.
sure.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, if you watched the Bassmaster Classic here 2 weeks ago, and you paid attention at all, the only booths that had people
Yeah,
at them were the swim
that's crazy.
meets. I mean, nobody's going to the Berkeley booth or
Yeah.
what. No one cares, right? You can buy
Mhm.
that stuff at Walmart.
Yeah.
But all the lines, I had guys that were there for me. I was supposed to go, and my wife got sick. We didn't go. So I had guys there for me,
Mhm.
waiting in line to buy the Piz and all the
Yeah.
stuff that was there, and the lines were insane because it's cool. There's something about to me, something about the the homemade, the garage built, a
Mhm.
guy making the bait with his hand. That
Yeah.
is so much cooler than just a mass production bait. It just
Yeah.
is. And when you catch a fish on it, it even makes it cooler. It's awesome.
Yeah. I've talked about it's cool like when you can talk with it when like say you went to the classic like this year last year wherever
Yep.
you go to the classic you talk to Kevin from KGB Fishing, you talk to Paul while you're
Right.
standing in line at Piz, you're talking to him, shooting the crap, whatever else it may be. 2 days later you're catching a fish on it, you're sending him a picture of a 6 pounder you caught on his bait, and he's like, even the smallest thing, oh dude, that's super cool. And you're like, this guy who made the bait, sold me the bait, handed me the bait, took my money, I caught a fish
Right.
on it, and not necessarily that he's hyped, but he responded to the fact that I fished this bait. Like that's super cool. You don't see the guys from Berkeley or from Rapala resharing your story,
No.
being like, "Dude, that's super sick.
Right.
How'd you catch it? What do you think of the bait?" No, that's
Right.
just it's so disconnected is probably the best word to do it. There's a disconnected market
Sure.
between like the production stuff and then like our quote unquote custom production stuff in the swim bait market.
Absolutely. And it's not the same,
Yeah.
right? These guys are trying to, I saw Duckett came out with a glide
Oh
bait.
boy.
I don't know if you've seen.
No, I haven't.
Come on. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, they're all trying it because it's cool and it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not the same. And I love supporting the garage built guys.
Hmm.
I'd much rather give those guys my money than some big corporation. I
Yeah.
really would.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like when you buy something from a garage, like, just a swim bait builder in general, you know that money is like going back into it. They're going to buy
Yeah.
more materials, or they're going to, that's going to float them through the next 2 weeks so they can try to test this new bait, or, whatever else it may be. Might buy their
Yeah.
material for the next baits batch of baits. Like that money, every single dollar, like is going back into their pocket. Whereas
Yeah.
in,
Not going to some CEO somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
So that's cool. And now that I'm such a big buyer now,
yeah.
it's kind of cool. I'll get messages on Instagram
Mhm.
from swim makers. Hey, I got one left. You want it? Hell
Yeah.
yeah, I want it. So
Right,
now
right.
that I'm in the game now, guys will reach out and go, hey man, I got one left. You here?
Mhm.
Boom. Yes, please
Yeah.
send it to me. So that's kind of cool having a little connection with those
Mhm.
guys for sure.
And
Yeah.
it also, say you were to win it on, XYZ swim bait. Say you win this tournament this weekend on XYZ swim bait. You makes, quote unquote national news in the bass world. Oh, my angler wins on homemade garage bait.
Yeah.
If you were to take that headline and you put guy wins it on, no shade, Vision 110+1 junior, whatever else it may be. Okay, it's cool.
Right.
E2's not in Japan freaking out that a guy won on his bait, because
Yeah.
there's been
Yeah.
a gajillion guys who have
Right.
caught fish on this. But
Right.
Henry Barber might be freaking stoked. Oh my gosh, Kevin,
Right.
not only bought this bait, fished it in a tournament, not only fished it in a tournament, caught two good ones to secure him the win. Like, wow, this is crazy. You're bringing publicity to him. You're bringing publicity into the swim bait scene. Like, it just goes so much further. Like, the buck doesn't stop at buying the bait. Like, especially for a tournament guy like yourself who goes out there and cashes a check with it, does a write up on some website or some magazine. Like, it affects more than just you. It affects everybody in the whole scene
Right.
to have somebody do well on any bait in the swim bait world.
Absolutely. Yeah, it means so much more. Yeah, and it should. And that's why I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's some out there, and this sounds crazy. I don't know of a custom builder that I haven't bought from.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, if there's one out there and he's watching this, reach out to me on Instagram
Yeah.
because I want to buy your bag. I want
Right.
to. I want to try them all, man. I'll take boxes and go to lake. I'll throw them and just to see how they
Hmm.
swim and all that. And just something really cool about the glide baits. I'm totally addicted. So my first tournament of the year in the NPFL um, was at Santee Cooper. Ended up taking 13th out of 118, got me a $10,000 check, and I was fishing a grass flat. And this sounds absolutely insane. This is how bass fishing is crazy. That lake is gigantic.
Yeah.
This one grass flat. Each day I had Patrick Walters, Drew Cook, Gerald Swindle, and Brandon Perkins and myself, all five of us going around in circles.
Yeah.
And and the one day I had 26 and a half pounds. And after I got my five on a chatterbait over the grass, I
Hmm.
picked up a hinkle shad and I caught two giant bass on it
Wow.
right in front of those guys. It just is the power. And none of them guys probably even had them in their boat.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to catch me a giant. And I did.
Right.
I had the biggest weight out of that hole that day and ended up getting me a $10,000 check. That's what I'm going to do every turn. I get five, I'm throwing a glide or
Hmm.
a swim bait until I go in every single time. Because I know what it can do. It can
Yeah.
catch you a giant, but it can burn you too. But
Hmm.
if I already have five, I don't care. I'm not, I'm not this tournament guy out here trying to get sponsors. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to get paid. I'm tournament fishing um, to give me something to do. And that
Right.
sounds crazy.
Yeah.
To force me, I'm in 2 weeks next week. I have to load up my boat and truck and I have to travel to North Carolina and go to Lake Norman. I've never been there in my entire life, but that tournament is forcing me to go do that. And that's why I tournament fish. It forces me to go fish places I've never fished before. That's
Yeah.
why I do it. I'm not out here trying to make money. I'm losing money doing it, but
Right.
I don't care because I love bass fishing. I love fishing. I have the means to do it. And that's why I tournament fish. And I am going to throw glide baits at Lake Norman as I know they hit them there. I
There
know
you
they eat
go.
them there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a maker that lives out there and kind of their baits have been doing pretty good out there. If you haven't checked out York Casting Co., they make a herring bait that they've been doing pretty good
Oh,
out
I
there
saw
with.
those. Yes.
So
I saw that. I followed him on Insta, or one of them. I saw his base. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, those are pretty cool. I didn't know he was around Lake Norman. I didn't realize
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yep. I think that's like his like
Very
quote
cool.
unquote home lake out there. But yeah, they
Sure.
will definitely.
Yep.
I know of people that definitely catch them on glide baits and stuff out there, glide baits and soft
Hmm.
baits. So
Yep.
there's just
Yep.
another one on your list to pack up maybe a little bit more swim baits than you usually would to go out there.
Heck yeah. Absolutely. Yep.
So here's a good question for you. So being a tournament guy, you bring a whole bunch of stuff because you obviously don't know what the fish are going to be doing, especially if you're driving 6 states over. What like
Right.
what's your boat loadout look like? Are you bringing like a box of jigs, box of liplesses, and then maybe 2 boxes of swim baits? Or kind of like how's your swim bait storage fit up with all the other stuff you usually bring?
I bet I'm taking. I bet I bring $15,000 worth of glide base every turn. That's no joke, by the way. So in my truck, and my wife hates it because the camper shell looks like an old man. In tournament bass fishermen, you got to have a camper shell in your
Yeah.
truck because that's where all your stuff lives.
Hmm.
When I take out of here next week, I will not be able to fit another bait in the back of that truck. And
Wow.
I also have the deck system
The
that
deck,
pulls
yeah.
out that'll lock up as well. I keep extra reels and then tools if something breaks. So I mean, I will take every single glide bait, at least one
Yep.
of each type that I have. I kind of have an idea of what I want to throw, but perception's weird in fishing. You think you're going to do this and you get there and it
Hmm.
changes. So having all that in the back of the truck, I mean, I'll have square bills, I'll have top waters, I'll have everything in the back of
Yeah.
that truck. And then um, in the boat, I mean, I'm getting ready right now for next week. Um, I'll have 35 rods rigged, ready
Wow.
to go.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Mm.
It's a lot. One side, and I'm such a swim bait nut. Now one side is all swim bait
Yeah.
rods, and then the other side is your traditional tackle. To be honest with you, so
Yeah.
there's one side that's all chatter baits and buzz baits and crankbaits and jigs and worms and all that. And this side over here on my right, the driver's side, that rod locker is all swim bait, soft and hard. And I'll have 12 rods in there rigged up, ready to go, all with amazing baits ready to throw
Yeah.
them. So,
Absolute beautiful thought. What I guess so you kind of so people who are watching, we've kind of talked about your wall behind you and you just talked about how many baits you bring, kind of like the style of bait. Do you have like your baits broken down from like I can fish these really fast, I can fish these, I can twitch these, I can only fish these slow. Like is that kind of how you're breaking down and characterizing your glide baits or kind of how do you go about that?
yeah, all 12 of those rods will have a different glide bait on it, and I'll
Mhm.
know which each glide bait
Yeah.
does, right?
Yep.
Um, I will never not have a hinkle tied on, and I will throw a hinkle in every tournament. And
Yeah.
to me, there's something about that bait. It's mysterious. It's hard to get it. It's expensive. The son of a gun
Mm.
attracts fish. There's something about the way it does this.
Yep.
Other baits don't do it as good. I will throw it every lake I go to. Sometimes they follow it, they won't eat it because it's so big. If they're not
Hmm.
on those gizzards, they don't like it. This time of year, for me in April, it seems like the smaller
Yeah.
glides work pretty good. I'm really digging the Henry Barber stuff right now. He
Mhm.
just made me two. I got him sitting right here. The littler guys, I'll definitely. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you can catch a ton of fish on these little
Hmm.
bitty guys. So I'll have these on. I'll have. Uh, it's a great bait. Bullshad's a great bait. It
Yeah.
catches a lot of fish. Something I like. Bone. I have all these swim baits, all these crazy colors, and I don't almost everywhere I go. Bone's really hard to beat.
Yeah.
Um, I got a Metro Glide. I'll just have because they all do. I'm digging the Clutch Boss right now, the Baby
Mhm.
Boss that
Yeah.
came out. Those are made. His shop's like 10 minutes from
I
my
was gonna
house,
say
by
can't
the
be
way, right here in
far. Yeah.
Kansas City. And there's not. So the Baby Boss is a good bait, and then you get over there and you get into the herring bait. So you got
Yep.
the darter, and you got all these other fish. Everything has a herring bait now, I
Yeah. Yep.
believe.
The
That
HK6,
so I'll have
HK7. Yeah.
yeah, I'll have that on. I'll have herring baits all the way to
Hmm.
the hinkle. and just see what the fish are telling me.
Yeah.
If I have figured out if I think I can catch 5 fish, no problem, and I have 3 days of practice, I'll take all 12 of those rods out. I won't
Yeah.
even get in the traditional side and go out and see
Yeah.
which one of these 12 swim baits is going to catch fish in the tournament is what
Mhm.
I'll do. If I
Right.
think I can go fish a dock with a skip a chatterbait or anything, catch me a 2 pounder and have me 10 pounds, I will
Mhm.
definitely in practice. I'll put all that up
Yeah.
and only throw them swim baits. Yeah, a lot of
Oh,
guys won't do that by
it's
no
beautiful to
means, but I
hear.
just yeah, it's fun to me. I don't need to. I mean, I got a full time job and I don't need sponsors. I don't need
Right.
any of that. I just want to catch fish on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
mean,
what I want to do.
yeah,
So
I
yeah.
myself, and I'm sure, 99.9% of guys who are listening to this can't blame you. Maybe there's a couple of your followers who aren't necessarily into the swim baits,
Oh
and they're like,
yeah.
what the heck is this guy
No.
doing? What's he doing?
Oh, it's amazing how many people will come here and they'll go, "There's no way you're catching fish on these." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They don't get it. They don't get it. So
Um,
yeah.
you had touched on obviously the crazy hot topic, the forward-facing sonar in the tournament scene. You touched on NPFL doesn't allow that. So what are you guys allowed? Are you guys allowed 360, and that's kind of 360 inside imaging, like is the quote unquote like most
Yep.
advanced graphing you're allowed to do?
Yes. Yep. That's it. You can have 360. You can have the regular anything that isn't live, right? So
Okay.
the live target,
Yeah.
the
Slide
live scope,
scope.
any of that's not.
Yeah.
You actually have to unplug it and lock it and send them a picture before you start practice,
Wow.
and that's what it is. And our first tournament there, we've only had one tournament, Santee Cooper. And once I learned my little flat, this was kind of cool. I had this $90,000 bass cat with all these electronics on it.
Yeah.
My second day, my third day of the tournament, I never turned my electronics on, not
Wow.
one time.
That's
Never. I
yeah.
knew where I was going. I had it in my mind. I knew where the ditch was at. I knew where the grass patches were at. I just fished, and it was so refreshing. It was
Yeah.
just fishing, and fishing's fun.
Yeah. I mean
So it was
that's
great.
it's
Yeah.
refreshing to hear. Do you think so? Obviously, MPFL isn't is nationally televised, nationally blown up as like the Elite Series is, and
Right.
for some reason, when guys think tournament fishing, they only think the elites. They don't think MLF,
Sure.
NPLF, like anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you think
Right.
if these guys like you know, people don't necessarily do research or really care to look into stuff if they don't have to. If they realize that there was a league or like a trail that allowed no forward facing sonar and was a lot of these guys, a lot of the guys who used to fish the Elite Series moved to this because of this reason, and it's televised. It's just as easy to consume. Like, would that grow MPFL like crazy big to the point where all these guys who piss and moan about watching the Elite Series would be like, "Oh, this is so much more refreshing to watch like guys actually fish and stuff."
It's already happened, right?
Mhm.
So NPFL, this is their fifth year. The other 4 years they allowed the live scope.
Yep.
They were the third chair, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you got Bassmaster Elite, which is the elite. There's Mark Zona and Tommy Sanders, and that's amazing. That's the pinnacle of the sport. Um, we in the NPFL this year, their viewership has 100%
Mhm.
went up from last year because of the no forward facing
Yeah.
sonar. And we have legends
Yeah.
that have
Exactly.
come over. We have Jason Christie, we have Greg Hackney,
Yep.
we have Patrick Walters. I think we have uh, 18 Elite Series guys, current Elite
Wow.
Series guys that are there fishing it. Then you have legends like David Fritz and Tommy Biffle, and
Hmm.
it's amazing the guys that are actually there. We have Forrest Wood Cup winners and Daryl Robertson. There are big name guys. Bill Owen won the first Elite Series of the year, second. He's over there fishing. I mean, it's growing and growing because guys just want to fish. They
Yeah.
just want to go fishing. What life scope? I'm not a life scope hater. I'm at all. But there's something cool about throwing a bait out there, not knowing if there's a fish there, and it
Yep.
hits it. That's what fishing should
Hmm.
be, and that's what's cool to me. Catching my live scope, still cool, still awesome. Done it a bunch. But I didn't know I was going to like as much as I did. I'm like, oh gosh, this can be kind of weird. I love not having live scope on the boat. It's
Yeah.
so cool. And for me, being a swim bait guy, that leans more
Hmm.
towards the swim bait world to me. I
Yeah.
think, throwing a glide against a dock, you don't have to have forward facing
Yeah.
sonar. So yeah, I'm loving it, and their viewership went up over 100%.
That's awesome.
Um, they live stream their weigh in. They have a drive through weigh in all 3 days.
Mm.
It's a 3 day tournament, and no one gets cut. So you fish all 3 days.
Yeah.
40th place pays 10 grand, I think.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're paying $5,200 entry fee. So it's a big deal. First place,
Mhm.
$100,000. So it pays just as much as the other
Yeah.
guys. And now you have no forward facing sonar. It's growing, and more guys keep coming each year. So it's getting some big names over there for sure.
That's freaking so awesome to hear. I hope guys who maybe aren't necessarily in the tournament scene but don't jive with forward facing sonar are
Yeah.
listening to this and saying, "Oh, like this is something that I can get behind, I can watch, I can follow,"
Hmm.
because it speaks to them a little bit more. And that being said, oh crap. Oh, that being said, I'm sure you've watched the Elite Series. You see all these guys, practically everybody fishing offshore, fishing in 60 feet of water, pulling these fish out of 20, 10 foot, like 10 foot down, like more or less fish that up until that point of forward fixing sonar, guys weren't necessarily targeting or targeting as efficiently
Yep.
as they are now. Have you noticed a lot of guys in your trail or like in your tournament scene like going back to maybe not necessarily beating the bank, but fishing a lot more shallow stuff, picking apart, 10 to 15 foot of water rather than that 40 to or 20 to 40 foot of water? Like, are you noticing kind of instead of being out in the middle, a lot of guys are hugging docks or going back into creek arms and that sort of thing? Is it a little bit more kind of does the field kind of play out more like it did a couple years ago prior to forward facing sonar, do you think?
Oh, for the NPFL
Yeah,
for sure, because there is no
right.
forward-facing sonar. Yeah, those fish are out there, but we can't see
Hmm.
them. I mean,
Right.
not there's guys who can catch them on 2D, and they did it in
Yeah.
the Great Lakes before and all that, but it's not the same thing. It's not
Right.
even
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
to being the same thing. So you're seeing all traditional fishing, old school
Yeah.
methods in the NPFL. That's just what it is. No
Yeah.
one's out there throwing a freaking minnow
Great tail.
without
Yeah.
forward-facing sonar in the
Hmm.
NPFL. And we've only had one tournament with it, and it wasn't Santee Cooper, and it's a shallow, dirtier grass
Hmm.
stumps, so it just lend itself to fishing shallow. Right?
Yeah.
Jason Christie won it on a spinner bait.
Mm.
Right, he had 30
Old
freaking
school.
pounds, two of the
Yeah.
fish. He just thump, thump, just old school thumping that
Hmm.
spinner bait, which he may be one of the best ever to do it, and he won the event. Right,
Yeah.
so if you like that old, and Greg Hackney, top 10. What was he
Right.
doing? He was throwing a hack attack jig on
Yeah.
stumps, right? Chatterbaits over grass. That's how this thing's. If you like that, there is a place for you now, and it's the
Hmm.
NPFL. So,
Heck yeah.
and it's a really cool tournament where I fished thousands of tournaments in my life, and it's the best ran organization. The guys who own it are ex-military guys, so they're
Mm.
very logistics,
Yeah.
and it's
Yep.
ran perfect. And they put your boat in for you each morning. They park your truck for you. It's great.
Wow.
It's a really, really cool. It's not some of the bass tournaments, me coming from crappie and switching to bass, the bass guys were kind of bass tournament guys were kind of arrogant and
Hmm.
cocky, a
Yep.
little bit of that. I don't see any of that in the NPFL. You just don't see it. So it's really cool. Refreshing.
Yeah. Do
That's a bad
you?
name tournament guys get for being dicks.
Right. Right. Do you see? Do you see a lot of guys my age fishing in the NPFL, or are those the guys who are fishing forward facing sonar fishing the Elite Series?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? So now the NPFLs are like, oh, great, a seniors
Yeah. Yeah.
tour, right? Now, there is a young gentleman, Tyler Williams is his name, that
Okay.
fishes the Elite Series. He's the kid that fishes with a jig everywhere he goes, and he doesn't wear any shoes. Really good young angler in his 20s. He's fishing the NPFL,
Mm.
right? Because he's a jig fisherman. He's like,
Yeah.
I should be able to catch with the jig without
Right.
forward facing.
Right.
So he's in it. There's a kid, Hammond's kid. He's like 18 fishing it.
Wow.
But yes, it's more of
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
Swindles and
Right.
Hackneys and Chrissies that have been doing it their whole life, and now they got to compete with it. So, but there are some young guys in it for sure. But I mean, and one thing that I don't like, this whole bashing on forward facing, like bashing on these kids because
Right.
of forward facing. That's not fair. That's the time they're growing up in.
Yeah.
That's not their fault. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I don't agree with any of that bashing on these young kids saying they're not fishing. Bull crap, they're fishing.
Yeah.
Easton
It.
Fothergill won the classic. He deserved the whole entire thing, man.
Yeah.
He is a hell of a fisherman. So I don't
Something
agree with
it's
that.
like any industry, something always comes along like around that 10, 15, 20 year mark. Something comes along and it just kind of like puts everything on its head. Like Kevin Van Dam, when Kevin
Mhm.
Van Dam popped up and he was fishing
Yeah.
fast, he was just reeling in, boom, just fishing super fast. He got criticized for it.
Oh, for
People did
sure.
not like
Yeah.
that. That
Right.
kind of not
It's
necessarily
just,
became normal, but that became like grandfathered in. Oh, you're ripping a spinnerbait past stumps, fishing a jerkbait fast, whatever else it may be. So you kind of like right now, everybody's super against forward facing, or not everybody, a lot of people super against it. But you also got to think like, is that something that 10 years down the road is just going to be a common thing? Like people my age, everybody knows how to use it. So it's not necessarily a
right.
fair, unfair advantage. I don't know. It's just something I look at. I'm not the biggest proponent of it. I mean, I think it's cool. I've only gotten to use it once or twice. I can see how it makes guys definitely a better better angler isn't necessarily the way to go about it, but if they can find fish and they can relate the fish where they are and they can kind of get a chance at catching them, they're pretty good at it. But maybe not necessarily
Oh,
making them a better angler in general as like fishing shallow and stuff like those kids. I'm gonna be honest. I bet you some of those guys, if they had to go up and fish shallow without a graph, they might not know how to use a jig. They might not know how to bounce bottom with whatever else it may be because they're so crutched on fishing a straight tail minnow or whatever else it may be on forward facing sonar. So it's
sure.
just interesting to see how stuff changes. Every 10 to 20 years, how. And that goes like with everything. Like you look at baseball now, the Yankees are
Yeah.
using these special bats that everybody's like,
That's
oh,
so crazy. Yeah.
they're like projected
Ban
to
them.
hit
Yeah.
870 home runs this year. Like that crushes the record by double. Like there's stuff that shakes up the game. Like people find not necessarily
Sure.
loopholes, but people find stuff with asterisks and they take advantage of it until it has to get rewritten where no, you can't do this anymore. So I feel like that's kind of where we're at right now.
Oh, I think so because you got NPFL banned it. They said
Yep.
none, and then you got the MLF that allows it one of the three
One.
periods,
Yep.
right? So you got a mix of everything, right? You got
Mhm.
the elites that go full bar, do whatever you want, use the 26-inch screens,
Yep.
whatever, and then you got one that says none. You got one in the middle. So,
Mhm.
yeah, the thing that as the fishing industry we shouldn't do, and we shouldn't hate on these kids because they are good
Yeah.
at it.
Yep.
Of course, they're good at it. Yeah,
Yep.
they're growing up in that age, right? That's what they grew up knowing. It doesn't not make them good fishermen,
Hmm.
right? It just doesn't. I mean, so I don't like the bashing on the kids because they're using. I think that's stupid. But
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, and I'd rather throw a glide bait up shallow and catch fish. But I have table rock, and table rock, as good as it is in the spring on glide baits, is just as good, if not better, live scoping out in the dead of winter. Where
Mm-hmm.
those, because it's crystal clear, you got
Yeah.
smallmouth, really good spotted bass and largemouth, and they eat that bait all year long, you will not catch a fish in the bank
Mm.
in December, January, and February. You have to live scope them,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
guys were out there fishing what they used to call them drains way before
Yeah.
live
Those
scope,
ditches and
throwing
stuff. Yep.
spoons and all that. Yeah, ditches, and
Yeah.
now you have live scope, and it just makes it so much faster. And it's fun as heck to see those fish underneath the bait eating and
Yeah.
coming back down, and it's just different. It's just different, and a lot of people just want to complain,
I mean,
no
going
matter
back to the
what.
baseball thing,
So,
it speeds it up. These guys are catching they're catching their five in the
yeah.
first hour. When baseball took
Right.
out the pit or when baseball put in the pitch count, like it sped the
Mhm.
game up. And this is speeding the tournament, essentially the whole tournament
Right.
process up. Like these guys are getting to 20 pounds in the first hour and a half of the day, and then they're grinding out
Yeah.
for two big fish. Like it's all perspective based. And obviously guys who aren't necessarily my age and didn't grow up without or didn't grew up without it and are used to beating the bank, that resonates with them watching guys do that. But a 14, 15, 16-year-old guy who has
Oh
forward
yeah.
facing sonar with his dad, they're watching the elite series and they're like, this is freaking awesome. This gives me a
Yeah.
chance to do this when I turn 18 or whatever else it may be. So, it's different strokes for different folks. You obviously can't hate on
Yeah.
especially I've seen so many posts sticking up for the kid, bashing the kid, doesn't count, voided
That's
classic win,
ridiculous.
whatever. It
That's
doesn't
dumb.
matter. He
That's
did everything that he was
no.
allowed to in the trails. It counts. I hate to say it
Good
to you
for
guys.
him. Yeah, he won. Leave him
Yeah.
alone. Yeah. But now to your point, those 14-year-old kids now know right before the spawn on most lakes, you can go throw a buzz bait down the bank and catch those pre-spawners. They may never know that.
Right.
They
Yeah.
may never get to enjoy that amazing topwater
Hmm.
bite on a pre-spawn bass because they'll
Yeah.
still be out there catching those, out pinging a minnow. So it's just whatever I mean, fishing can be whatever you want it to be,
Hmm.
really, and that's how I look at it. It's
Yeah.
fun to me, and I'm gonna keep having fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They might see school fish busting on shad in 30 foot of water, and they're trying to ping a minnow instead of fishing a spook up top. Like it's just like you said, it's
Yeah, yeah.
perspective. It's
Throw a
just how they were
spook.
brought
Yeah,
up and
right.
kind of how they're doing it.
Yep. Right. Yep.
The last like big question I had for you is does your like swim bait lineup change at all from when you're going to like Santee Cooper, say the instead of next week going over to Lake Norman, you're coming up here to like St. Clair hypothetically. Does it change on like a largemouth to smallmouth basis? Like are you still gonna fish the hinkle shad if it's like a smallmouth fishery, or kind of what's your lineup kind of
Yeah.
change and differ from that point?
Yeah, no, yeah, it totally changes. I would not throw the hinkle for smallmouth, right? And that's for
Right.
them big gizzard eaters, right? Which that's a lot of people are still trying to figure that out. But like Santee Cooper, those are big bags. There's 30-pound sacks swimming around. So I knew they would hit it. And then I go to North Carolina next week and the bass are smaller and there's spotted bass. I'm not the hinkle isn't going to play, right? I'm gonna have to downsize and use the smaller glides. I already know that. So yeah, I'll change for sure. Um,
Right.
and then there's some lakes where they just won't eat the darn thing, where
Hmm.
you have to do the crazy traditional fishing. But that's
Yeah.
that's fishing, and that's figuring that out. You just got to figure that out while you're there too. And the
Hmm.
time of year, there's some lakes that like I fish Lake of the Ozarks. There's times they will crush a glide bait on those docks.
Yeah.
And then there's other times of year they won't even look at it. So
Hmm.
it's timing. It's a seasonal pattern like everything. Now there's some guys that live in Arizona and California, they get to fill these swim baits all the time. And I
Yeah.
am jealous of those guys. I don't have that here in Missouri.
Right.
I can't throw those things year round and catch
Mm.
fish. Dead of summer, down at Lake Fork, I
Oh.
go down there quite a bit in the dead of summer. Um, and if I weight my hinkle enough, I can get him
Hmm.
to come up and eat it. But it's, 10-inch worm outfishes it
Yeah.
90% of the time. Right. So
Hmm.
it's just seasonal pattern like anything else. And just, I think that's what scares most of these guys with the swim baits is not figuring out it's just another tool in your toolbox, really.
Yeah.
That's how I use it.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you, no, this is okay. This is the last question I've got. Do you ever shy away from the swim bait? So if you're fishing on fork where there's a gajillion sunken logs, or you're fishing somewhere with dock cables, that's more of a southern thing, but you're fishing somewhere with dock cables on these floating docks and stuff. Do you ever so some guys, like if they're a guy like me who just kind of fun fishes, not necessarily cashing a
Yeah.
check, they might be hesitant to fish the hinkle shad around a bunch of dock cables and stuff. You're a tournament guy, and it sounds like you maybe have a couple baits that you kind of have multiple of and stuff. Are you kind of holding back during tournament fishing, like, man, I might snap my hinkle, or are you just kind of like, screw it, I'm either gonna cash a check or I'm gonna have to go buy a new hinkle trout after this?
Never holding back.
Mm.
Never.
Yeah,
I my dumb you know how expensive Hinkles are, right?
yeah,
I got 18 of them over there, right? I had 19, and one of them is in a 7 pound mouth at El Salto because I tried to boat flip him after I've caught like 20 fish. I didn't retie. I would do like this, and boom,
yeah.
there he goes back, and I'm like, oh, that's $600 next. It's just I use it. I
Yeah.
use a $600 glide bait like I use a $5 jig. It is
Mhm.
no different to me. I'm
Yeah.
fishing and I want to catch a fish. I don't care how I got to do it or
Yeah.
what happens. But that's me.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think I
I'm
think
not
there's a
shying
lot
away.
of I think a majority of swim bait guys are like that. And when I fish, like when I fish with my buddies who are going out to the big bass bash, or like with other people even who kind of into swim baits but not necessarily, they try to like pussyfoot around the situation. Like I go to boat flip a fish, like, no, 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 I'll grab the net, dude. I'm like, no, dude, it's
Right.
okay. Like if I break, my quote is like, somebody will be like, you're gonna break that bait off, and I said, well, they make more every day, so I'll just buy another one. What's the
Yeah.
matter? Like that's
Yeah.
what I was saying this last week, and I was like, well, I went to go flip a fish, and they're like, oh, it might break. Like, are you gonna flip one? I said, yeah, they make more every day. If I lose one, I'll just have to buy
Yeah.
another one. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I'm not a big dip net guy. I'm just
Mm,
not and never have been.
yeah.
In Mexico, you have a guide, right? They won't let
Yep.
you go out on that lake without a guide. So you have a guide that takes you around. He is netting your fish.
Mm,
And the only reason I tried to boat flip this one is because he had another 5 pounder
yeah.
in the net that my buddy had caught. And I'm like, oh, I'm just going to show these
Right.
guys. And there goes the hinkle. Yeah. So, something I'm learning about these glide baits because of all the awesomeness of them,
Hmm.
because they are handmade, two of the exact same builders,
Yep.
not always swim the same. So
Yeah.
that's something that if you get into this game, you get one of those, this is a junk swim bait. Not necessarily. You might need to tweak that
Hmm.
bait. And I see that with my hinkles. I got 18 and not all of them will swim exactly the same. That's across the board on most of these swim baits.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've learned just having so many of them now.
And
Yeah.
before I knew you were such a swim bait guy, when you bought that mother from me, I was like, I kind of made sure I was like, this thing, like, I didn't really like the swim of it. Just so you know, you might like the swim of it.
Yeah.
Like those mothers
Right.
all swim completely different from
Yeah.
each other, and that's one step
Absolutely.
further because it's all wood. So you might get a denser piece of wood, or whatever else it may be. Like there's just so many variables, and sometimes like you get a bait and it's freaking awesome, or sometimes you may get a bait and you're like, it sinks a lot faster than I thought this slow sink kind of went for, whatever else it may be. Like every single bait, even from a bait in the same batch, they swim completely different. Like it's kind of crazy to
Absolutely.
think about it. And like that's you might say you might love one bait, and I'm like, dude, I didn't really like the way that bait swam.
Right.
And you're like, well, I've got five of them, and I only like the way four of them swim. So you may have gotten a bad or a quote unquote a bad one.
But that, and I do that all the time with the guys that fish the tournament. There are some swim bait guys that fish the NPFL. One of them's named Luis Fernandez. He's a California guy, so of course he's swim bait,
Yeah.
and he's always asking me, and he's like, you throw the 86? Like, yeah, I love it. It's a cool. He's like, oh,
Mhm.
mine swims like junk, and we met in the
Yep.
same cove. And I said, let me see, and his didn't swim like mine.
Right.
That same, exact same
Yep.
bait. I'm like, try this, and he's like, oh, I'm taking yours. Like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
no. And yeah, I see that. Yeah, and that hinkle I had in Mexico where it had the most beautiful swim ever, and I
Hmm.
lost the thing and about started crying because it was one of those that was just a magical swim,
Yep.
and it's
Yeah.
hard to duplicate that for sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's like those mothers, they're a dime a dozen. Like you'll get four and you'll only like the way one of them swims.
Yeah.
Like Marshall has gone through so many and now he only gets one specific color because he's convinced that that's the best swimming color from that batch that they did. So,
Ah.
it's just
Oh
it's a
wow.
yeah, it's a real
Mm.
like I don't know. He says the white snake mother is the best swimming one. I had a different color back in the day that I kind of liked compared to that color that I'd
Mm.
sold you. It's just, it's you might really like that mother, and I'm just like, dude, it's got a little too much head roll to this glide, or whatever else it may be. It's
Right.
just, it's the again
Right.
different strokes for different folks. Like you might love it, and I might hate it.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And everyone likes a little something
Yep.
different. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
You might let a glide hang a little bit longer than I would before I hit it, so that's why you like this
Right.
version. But it's just like there's just so many variables to it. It's kind of hard to pick one thing or another on a specific bait like that.
Yeah.
The
Something with my glides that I don't know that every guy does. I do weight every glide bait I have.
Oh
I don't
really?
I don't know if I weight every single glide bait. I don't want them to be a wake bait, right?
Hmm.
I want them, I think in my mind, I may be crazy because I'm a fisherman, how crazy we
Yeah.
get with I think if it's below the surface more than up, it gets more bites.
Mm.
That's me. Every one I use those little sticky the bait sanity,
Yep.
the tungsten
Yeah.
weight. I don't like wrapping the lead around the hooks.
Yeah.
I think that's too much for me. So I mean, I'll put one or two of these on every bait and sink every bait I have.
Mm.
That's what I do. I don't know if every guy does. There are cool baits like the Henry Barber that has the tungsten
That
balls
tungsten.
inside
Yeah.
it, where you can weight him with the tungsten balls. That's pretty cool. But every glide I throw, I sink him down. I don't want a high float. If I'm doing that, I'll throw a wake bait. There's
Yeah.
times wake baits are amazing. I got
Hmm.
to see that and cool and rat fish and mouse fish and all that, but that's not what I want in my glide. I want my glide down 10 to 12 inches. So
Yeah.
and even in the summer, I want them down 7 feet,
Hmm.
8 feet. So I always sink my glide baits. I don't know if everyone does that or not. That's every guy's different, I guess, and
Yeah.
everywhere you fish is different. So,
I'd
yeah.
rather have a faster sinking glide bait than a slower sinking glide bait because I feel like there's glide baits that kind of swim up on top and they're okay, but I feel like if your glide bait is up on top or like only a couple inches under the water, it's got a better chance of blowing out. Like it'll kind of catch too much and it'll start to roll
Hmm.
on its side.
Oh
That's
yeah.
just I
Well, that
like
makes
it like
sense.
like
Yeah.
8 to 9 inches below is about the depth that I
Yeah.
like. I'll fish it deeper, but that's about as high as I want to go. Is that like eight
Mhm.
inches to a foot? I'll sink them down deeper if I have to. But if I'm casting and it's a slow sink, I'm counting it down, 12 seconds to make sure it's down where I want to. Just because I think that
Sure.
it swims a little bit different up top than if you have some kind of some weight or like some like substance above that bait where it's kind of
Mhm.
more so floating in like all around the water
Yeah.
than kind of up a little bit higher. It's just my opinion. And it's just like you said, everybody
Well, that
fishes it
makes
different. So
well that makes complete sense. Having
yeah,
all the water around the
yeah.
bait, it's gonna yeah, for sure. That makes complete sense to me.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know. Like you said, it
Yep.
makes sense to us, but maybe 25
Right.
guys listening to this, like these guys are freaking crazy. They don't like
Yeah, they're
floating
like, no,
glide
these guys are
baits.
idiots. Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about fishing. You can catch them however and
Yeah.
however you've had success with it in
Yep.
your mind's the best way. Well, keep doing that because it's working for you. That's
Yeah.
the cool thing about fishing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then like
So,
we might have experiences where those fish will come up and eat the glide bait that's 8 inches under the water. Where guys, maybe with dirtier
mhm,
water, like living on Lake Michigan, I can have fish come up from 13 feet of water and come up and eat my bait 8 inches under the water. Where guys down south
right,
on like Fork or OHIV or whatever, if they're fishing swim baits on OHIV, they might have to sink that bait where it's 6 inches off the bottom in 20 foot of water. That's just not how I've grown up fishing,
right,
so I don't have to worry about that.
right.
So you're going to have a different experience and a different kind of default method than I am. That's just a variable.
Yeah,
The
there's something that I'm fishing. I don't fish a lot of crystal clear water. I fish
mm,
table rock. That's the clearest water I
yep.
fish. But when I go there, I run up to where the dirty water starts. And so
Oh,
for me, when I said bone's my favorite color, it's because I'm fishing the dirtier, dingy water
mm,
with swim baits, not crystal clear water.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm doing it. Even that's unconventional. And the reason, I don't know, I feel more confident in the dirtier, dingier water than the super clear. But that's me. That's
yeah,
why bone is absolutely my favorite color
yeah.
for
Well,
glides. Yeah.
if the guys who are listening have been listening to the podcast for any length of time or a good majority of time, they know that I'm a do or die bone color bait in super clear
Mhm.
water, 40 foot of water, because I don't know, like you said,
Still awesome.
if you sink a bone bait down in a couple inches of clear water, it glows. It like
Oh,
demands
cool.
fish to look at it, dude.
Yeah.
I could be fishing a bluegill bait, and these fish could have never seen a bluegill before. But if it's bone, I've got the most confidence in the world with it, just because it's demanding these fish to come up and look at it. And another thing, it's easy to track
Absolutely.
in the water. You can cast that thing, you can sink it down 10 feet, and you
Yep.
can just see a aura under the water. You're like, yep, that's my bait. I know where my bait is.
Absolutely. It's so cool. And it's the best when one's behind it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the
You just see a
best.
dark shadow,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
my favorite thing is fishing bone. It's always visible in the water, so you can tell when that thing doesn't glide right one way, and you kind of reel down and maybe give it a quick sweeping
Oh, yeah.
motion like a flea hooks that. There's a good chance that fish is there. Like just watching your glide bit, and then all of a sudden just seeing it get hit off track. Oh,
It's
there's
so
nothing better than that. I always say I feel bad for the guys who don't have confidence or don't get to experience like crystal clear like northern Michigan water because if you're not addicted to glide bait fishing, you come up here and you catch a couple off the pier heads that we fish,
yeah,
or
dude.
dude,
Yeah.
it's the drug of choice, I think, after that because it's just so
Yeah.
dang fun to watch.
What one thing following and watching and trying to consume and learn all I can about swim baits. I've watched all the YouTube swim
Yeah,
baiters, I've watched them all. And something that I have found to be completely true is when you see one to not slow down. And it's so hard
yeah,
to think that when you see
yeah,
one, you want to stop. But if you speed it up, they will come eat it.
yeah,
And if I can remember that and I see one, like in Mexico down there, I could see 4 or 5 behind it. I'm talking 4 or 5 5 pounders
yeah,
behind it. And the last thing they would swim away from, if I just stopped and just
mhm,
let it sit, if I start getting aggressive with it, they would hit it every time because it was competition. So that's
yeah,
hard to think in your head that you want to keep moving it away from, but it
yeah,
definitely, I have found that to be true for sure once you see them.
right.
Hard to
Um,
do.
Yeah, a lot of guys will, if they're having followers, they'll go straight to eight trap, which, I don't have really any confidence with that because I've never like
Yeah.
experienced like fish that crazed up. what I'll do is if I get it close and those fish aren't eaten, I'll give that, especially if it's a glide bait or only a glide bait, I give that thing one hard reel pop and that thing will do a 180 and it'll face that fish. And
Yeah,
it's just that fish turning around, you're chasing that fish, and then all of a sudden it's facing you. Dude, they can just headshot that thing like nobody's business.
right.
I've caught a lot of fish doing that because it's such an instinct, like, oh, this thing's facing me. I'm not going to get spined at all. I'm tearing this thing up. So that's the thing that I
Yeah,
have found to work
that's
really,
awesome.
really good, especially in our clear water.
That's very cool. Yep.
And just
Good stuff.
yeah. Last big question I got for you. What like go through maybe like three to five of your swim bait setups. Like what are you fishing, like rods and reels and line wise?
Yeah, I've tried the big Calcuttas. I
Yep.
have them. I like them. I'm more of an Antares. How do
Yeah,
you
and
say it? The
Terry's, yeah.
Shimano Antares. Yeah, that's what I have gone to on
Mm.
all of them. A lot of people hate the DC series and the squeal. I don't care. I throw these big glides and it helps
Yeah.
not backslash. I'm using Antares on all of them. Um, I have a lot of the custom rods, a lot of them I've bought. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like.
Yeah.
G Loomis makes a great swim bait rod, to be honest with you. Their
Yeah.
swim bait series of rod is really good. I know that's probably not cooler hit, but they do make a good swim bait rod that can do just about everything. I do have two of the brand new working class zeros
Mhm.
for the soft swim
Yep.
baits that I got them 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to go take them out this weekend and use those. Those things are, I see what he's doing there. It's pretty, I mean, they're
Yeah.
stiff
Yeah.
rod. So that's kind of cool. I'm like, okay, I kind of get. So I'm gonna throw the 8-inch mag draft and the working class zero bait on those this
Yep.
weekend and see. I see how stiff the rod he's
Yeah.
using. When
Yeah.
that guy's the probably the best soft bait swim bait guy in the world, one of them.
Yeah.
So and anyone that is good at this stuff, I follow, pay attention. I'll go
Hmm.
try what they're trying. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not an expert by no means. I just love it. So I'll buy any and all of it.
Yeah.
I've got custom swim bait rods being made right now by a couple of guys who make them.
Mm.
So I try them all. Um, I still use the Calcutta. The big round. I like the smaller.
Yep.
Still make me feel
Keep it
like a
all
traditional bait
compact.
has with interns. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I use it. It's still got the big. It's still more like a 200 series. The
Yep.
Antares is.
Yeah.
I know they're coming out with a smaller one this year, but that's not for swim baits. But for swim baits, I'll use the Calcutta and I use the Antares. Antares is really expensive. They are, but
Hmm.
they're really good. They're a really good
Right.
reel. I'm a Shimano guy. I'm a diehard Shimano. There's Daiwa and Shimano are the reels for me, and I just think Shimano is a better reel. I don't
Right.
get paid to say that. I pay full price, but I think they're a really, really good reel.
Yeah.
So that's what I use. And I know some guys, Josh with Clutch, he's a huge swim bait guy. He
Hmm.
uses all um, uh, uh, monofilament
Yeah.
because of the stretch.
Yep.
I'm a fluorocarbon guy. I use 22-pound fluorocarbon.
Mm.
So that's what I use. So I know some guys love it makes sense. The mono does stretch quite a
Right.
bit. That's what's crazy about these bases. They're so big and massive, but once you get one hooked, it is a treble hook
Yeah.
bait.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
you want a little bit of that play. So that's what I mean. I've tried them all, and I keep practicing and trying every rod and reel combo I can get. But that's
Hmm.
that's and Terry's with 22-pound fluorocarbon and a swim bait rod is what I use.
Perfect. And
Now, smaller guys like his little. This is a Henry Barber,
yeah.
little
Yep.
bitty guy. I'll just throw this on a regular 7'6" flipping stick is what
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
with a regular traditional
Hmm.
100 series reel. You don't have to have something
No.
giant. This don't weigh anything. So that's what I do. The bigger stuff I get into the other the crazy stuff, the
Yeah.
antares and all that. But those smaller glide baits that catch a ton of fish, I just use on traditional flipping stick. To
Yeah.
be honest with you.
Yeah, I've tried
Yeah.
to tell, or I've tried to like make it a branding standpoint where 80% of swim bait guys don't need anything bigger than like a Corrado 200 or a Tatula 200. Like that'll do more than what they ever needed to
Yeah.
do. And they don't think
Yeah.
about it because they see the Tranks 300s and stuff, and like I'm getting into
Right.
swim bait fishing. I need the
Big
Tranks
cow
400,
cutters
and
and yeah.
yeah, and it's just like
Yeah.
man, if I had a dollar for every bass, swim bait bass I've caught on I think from like from a year and a half or 2 years into swim bait fishing. So 5 or 6 years now, all my 99% of my swim bait bass have came on the Calcutta or the Corrado 200. Just
Right.
works.
Yeah.
Haven't unless I'm fishing
Yeah.
the
It's
Hinkle
a great.
trout or the Ghost or something. I have a bigger reel, but everything else goes on the Corrado.
Yeah. it can handle it,
Yeah.
right? Unless it gets really big and heavy. And yeah, the
Yep.
Hinkle's heavy, so you need a bigger reel for it, and that makes sense, and a bigger rod. But yeah, half the stuff these guys freak out and think they need special gear for it
Yeah.
when they really don't.
Right.
A flipping stick will do just about
Yep.
anything you want it to do. So yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
I try to keep it simple, but I try it all. When the working class zero rods came out, I'm like, heck yeah, I want to try
Hmm.
them. I want to see if
Yeah.
this guy knows what he's doing. There's no doubt about that. I want to see
Right.
what this is about. So, yeah, I'll try. I'll buy it and try it all for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Heck yeah. Well, the last thing we're going to talk about, a new little segment we're going to do at the end of every episode. I was telling Kevin about it before we started. If you guys are familiar, like the fantasy draft style thing, where I'll throw out a topic and I will give the guest the first two picks since I kind of have the topic in my head, and we're going to pick the top three. So he'll pick his two, I'll pick one, he'll pick his last one, and then I'll pick my last two, and we can't repeat a bait or an answer. And I'll redo these rules every episode until we kind of get it established. So for our fantasy draft this week with Kevin that we're going to be talking about, since it's a tournament based episode, we're going to be talking about you've hit on it a bunch of times. So you and I were fishing a tournament, whether we're co-anglers or separate boats or whatnot. We've got five fish. We're sitting right around that like 17, 18 mark, but we're looking to cull maybe a 3 pounder, maybe look a little bit more towards that 25 mark here. What what are the three glide baits that you're picking up to try to catch that one kicker fish? So I'll let you spout out two, and you can spit out one and give your reasoning, and then spit out your second one, and then I'll kind of go with my three as well after that.
All right, I mean, I've said it over. I'm going Hinkle first.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm going Hinkle Chef right out of the chute. I'm going
yeah.
with the. I, there's a reason it's mysterious and cool, and
Mhm.
it's I don't know. To me, in the glide bait world, it's a really good glide bait. I'm going Hinkle first. Second right now, man, that's a good one. So I get two, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
you're
you
going
pick the
third.
first two, and then
Yeah,
I'll list one, and then you get your third pick.
I'm gonna go. This, oh, gosh,
Oh man,
I'll
what
go
is it?
Baby Boss Clutch. I'll
Okay,
go
okay.
Baby Boss Clutch right now. Right now, I'm in that. I'm in that. I'm digging it. So those will be my first two.
Okay, okay. So I it's funny because I had a different mindset. I'm thinking baits I can utilize in different situations. So first bait I'm picking up is the Jackal Gantrel because if you're fishing
Mm,
shallow, you can fish it shallow. If you're fishing it deep, you can tie on a chin weight. If you're fishing forward facing sonar, you can ping those fish off in 20 foot of water with it. So
mm,
that was my number one draft pick. I was thinking about it all day, and I'm like,
very cool.
Gantrel, it can catch fish when those bluegill are bedding. It can catch them pre-spawn, post-spawn. It can catch them dead of summer. It's a bluegill bait. Bass are always eating bluegill. So that's my first draft pick. What's your third draft pick, and then I'll do my two
What
after.
that bait has such a cool drift.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It has such a. It's not to me. It's not the. It's not a choppy. It has that
Yeah.
cool. Like it just glides off into the abyss. Very
Yeah.
cool bait. I didn't even think of that. Cool. Um. Uh. Man, third for me. I am digging Henry Barber stuff. I'm a Henry Barber fan. I don't know the young man. I've never
Yep.
met him, but dude, his glide baits to me are really cool. I'm going Henry Barber.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go
Okay.
the 150 Shad. Yep.
Dang. Okay. Okay. So my second pick, if the guys have been listening to the show for a while, they know this is a classic of mine, the S Waver 168, and this is based
Yeah.
off the fact it's a production bait. They all swim the same. They have nice hardware, and I can lose 12 of them in a day, and I don't have to
Yeah.
skip lunch the next day. And you can
See,
kind of mod them a little
I'm
bit.
spending all my I'm spending all my kids' inheritances on my glide bait. Yes. Yeah.
So, so the S Waver 168 for my second draft pick. My third draft pick. Now I've kind of covered all the water column. I'm gonna pick up the Fishing to the Max Top Frog. Are you familiar with that bait?
I saw. I think you did a. I think
Yeah.
you
Yep.
did something on it. Yeah, it's the first time I ever saw it. Yeah.
So I'm picking
Yeah.
that up because you can skip it kind of well. It's kind of a flatter bait. So you can skip that bait up under docks and they're going to see something that they have never seen before. It's not a glide bait. It's
Sure.
not a frog where it's just walking. It
Right.
is an articulating bait that's swimming across the water.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily
So
fish it in
cool.
pads like you can with other, with normal frogs on the market, but you can pitch it into pockets. And that thing has so much action. You only have to get one or two reel pops out of it before a fish comes up and eats it. It's a pretty it's an interesting bait. It takes a little time to tie up, which might not be the best, but if you already have it tied on during a tournament, it's going to be a good bait. It gives it a presentation that those fish have probably never seen before in a big profile, and it's got quite a few hooks, so you don't have to worry about those fish coming unhooked. And I think they're like $80. So I was on the different side of the
Mm,
spectrum as you were, but I was thinking in the
right.
mindset of tournament fishing. I'm gonna be making some hairy wild casts. If I lose the bait, I don't want to be upset about it the rest of the day and fish my emotions.
Sure.
That was kind of what I was thinking about
Yeah.
all day. And I once you talked about the Hinkle for a while, I'm like, oh, he's definitely picking the Hinkle first pick.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. It's a great bait. It is.
It
That's
is
awesome. That's
beautiful.
very unique. Very cool.
Heck yeah,
Very
man.
cool.
So, if you guys are listening, make sure if you're on YouTube or Spotify, or I'll make an Instagram post too, but comment who had the better draft pick. I feel like this is a nice little thing that we'll be doing every episode. It'll be kind of curated to the guest. This time
Very
it was kind of
cool.
tournament. I'm having Jeff on, and well, yeah, I'm having Jeff on, so it might be more YouTube based or like it's just gonna be something a little fun we do at the end, and
I
you
can't
guys can
wait
kind
to
of
see
take
what he
part.
picks.
Yeah, you guys can voice
Yeah.
your opinions on who had the better pick. So make sure you guys drop if Kevin outpicked me or if I was on the other side of the spectrum and maybe you guys liked my picks a little more. Kevin,
Right.
I appreciate you
Right.
coming on, man. I appreciate you taking some
Yeah,
time
man. I
out of your
appreciate
Tuesday
it.
evening.
Yeah.
It was such a blast. It's fun to hear a guy who is a massive swim bait nut and also, not necessarily fishes to cash a check, but fishes at a chance of cashing a check when he's tournament fishing. And
Yeah.
you come with the mindset that I think a lot of swim bait guys would do is go out and catch your five and then go grind and die with the glide bait if that's what you want to do and if it's all lining up for
Absolutely.
that.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you having me on. This is awesome. And glide baits are cool. They're so cool.
Yeah.
I told you this before we got on. Swim bait guys are way cooler than normal bass guys. So thanks for having me on, man. I
Heck yeah, man.
appreciate it.
Where can people follow you if they're not following you already?
Yeah, on Instagrams, I got a pretty good following on Instagram. I'm Kevin Rogers Fish on Instagram and Kevin Rogers Fish on TikTok. The TikTok blew up pretty big here. I had to have my kids help me out with that because I didn't know how to work TikTok. I'm too old to work it. So I've got some pretty cool videos on there, and I mentioned it earlier, and it sounds ridiculous. I am gonna I do have these private lakes. That's my retirement
Yeah.
plan. So I'll be doing. I'm trying to make the ultimate private swim bait lakes is what I'm trying to do.
That's
So like
awesome.
I'm in Missouri, but I'm still gonna have stalker trout and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I can go throw these giant glide baits and try to catch some monster Missouri bass. So I'll be doing that on TikTok. Follow along there. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So.
There you go, man. Absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome conversation, Kevin. We talked talked about a whole lot more so kind of the whole glide baits and tournaments like kind of going hand in hand and excuse me, how you take advantage of both. And it's a super unique perspective. Probably the only time that I'd talk to a tournament guy who has as big as a glide bait wall or a swim bait wall as you behind you right there. And I appreciate the time, man. Absolutely awesome episode. And if you guys don't follow Kevin, I'll put everything in the show notes. You guys can go follow him if you're not already.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Oh
Appreciate
yeah,
you.
man. I appreciate you, man. I
Yep.
hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yep.
If you guys don't follow Kevin, make sure you go do that. Make sure you follow the podcast, Scales and Tails Media, if you aren't already. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one. See you guys.